Welcome to another episode of the Property Nomads Podcast. We will be exploring one of the best experiences that we've ever had today, and that was the Copa Libertadores Final in 2014 between Nacional of Paraguay and San Lorenzo of Argentina. As I mentioned last week, we use a website called soccerway.com. Soccerway.com are very, very good at having pretty much every single football league you can think of, up and down, in and around the world, cup competitions, etc. And also having the fixture times, dates, when the games are being played, etc., etc. After coming off of our football binge in Brazil, we slowly made our way down south. So we started in Rio de Janeiro. We were there for 6 weeks. Slowly made our way down to Sao Paulo, Florianopolis, and over to Foz do Iguaçu to see the falls there, the waterfalls. Now in Florianopolis, we were reined in at the hostel for a day, and we checked out soccerway.com. And what we didn't realise, but we soon will come to realise quite quickly, was that the Copa Libertadores, so that's the South American equivalent of the Champions League here in Europe. They were coming to the final stages of their competition, and they had the semi-final games had been announced, and also the dates of the final had been announced as well. All the dates, times of kickoffs, etc., all of this had been pre-done. And this was still in the days where the final was two-legged. Nowadays, I think it's a one-off game, but yeah, these were two-legged games. And we looked at the teams, and I think there was one semi-final was San Lorenzo versus, I don't know who they were, but they were quite far away. And the other one was, I believe, Nacional of Paraguay against some team from Uruguay, I think. So we looked at that. And we looked at where Florianopolis was on the map. And we said, I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to keep an eye out here. Because if the Paraguay team get through, we could actually feasibly make it to the capital, Asuncion. We can make it to the capital here. We might be in a position to try and get tickets. Okay, great. So we've done that. Had some time in Florianopolis, went over to Foz do Iguaçu, and from there, we decided, as part of our route anyway, we were going to go into Paraguay anyway. So we'd gone into Paraguay, we'd gone into a place called Ciudad del Este, which is City of the East. An interesting place to say the least. What I will say, and it took us 2 days to realise, that if you go from Foz do Iguaçu and you go into Ciudad del Este, there is a time difference. We didn't figure that out until for about 48 hours, that there's a time difference. So we wondered what was going on, and that would explain it. We didn't realise that the clocks had gone back. Happy days. So we're in Ciudad del Este, and again, we checked soccerway.com. The Paraguay team had got through. They're in the final. They're going to be playing San Lorenzo of Argentina. And the game was next week, and the first game was at I think it's the Estadio del Defensores or something along that line. Anyway, it's the national stadium in Paraguay, and that's in Asuncion. So we quickly booked a hostel for Asuncion, because San Lorenzo fans are a bit nuts. They will travel in their numbers, and they're very passionate people. So again, what I want to point out from this wasn't planned. We hadn't planned this. This wasn't a case of we're going to go out, we're going to see a Copa Libertadores final. This was a wonderful case of right place, right time. Great. So we get on the bus and we go to Asuncion. We've booked a hostel. We turn up at the hostel, and the first thing the woman says, when we say we're English, the first thing the woman says, "Do you like football?" Is the Pope Catholic? Is what I felt like saying. But yes, love football. Well, she said, there's a big game in a few days' time. Nacional are playing San Lorenzo. It's a Copa Libertadores final. Tickets go on sale on Sunday. This is this is where to get the tickets from. Okay, great. Thank you very much for the information. And she said, there's also a game on tonight at the same stadium, and there's also a game on tomorrow night. So if you do fancy going, here are the teams, these are the games. As you can tell from the tone of this podcast, apart from one element of it, there's not a lot of information about the games. We went to a game that evening just to do a bit of recon of the stadium, how to get there, etc. And that game was a terrible, terrible game. I think that finished 0-0. We went back the following night just for fun, just because we could. That game, I think one of the teams, Olympia, they won 2-0, I think. And that was good fun, not bad. And the day after that was ticket day. Copa Libertadores Final, let's get some tickets. So we've been told that we needed to go to, this was where the ticket office was. Tickets were on sale at 8 o'clock in the morning, and this was a Sunday. Get in line, not a problem, you'll get the tickets, easy. Okay. First of all, we are absolutely hanging. We've had a heavy night before. We are comatose is an understatement. We drag ourselves out of bed because we go, look, let's try and get tickets for this. It's about 30 degrees, it's roasting, it's blissfully sunny. We're hanging and we join this queue, which, I mean, it goes on for blocks and blocks and blocks. Understandably so. The game, the stadium holds about 45,000 people. That, they've only just made the final, so there's no prior ticket arrangements as such. So everyone's, understandably, it's their chance to see their team, or even, as we found out, other people from Paraguay had, it's a chance to see one of their teams in a major final, so they've queued up to get tickets. Thankfully, there's a street vendor selling coffee in the morning, so we had a coffee, and we were in the queue for a little while, and not a lot's happening. It was shifting, a little bit of a shuffle, but we're not making a big dent in the queue. Must be about an hour in, and we're standing there, we're just having a chat, and police officer walks past, looks at us, and we stand out because of our skin colour. We stand out. Not a lot of other white people there, so it's obvious we're tourists. Police officer took one look at us and said, "Where are you from?" We said, "Oh, we're English. We're here for tickets. We'd love some tickets." That's all we said. And the police officer, in effect, there was a couple of them. I think they had guns as well, so a bit intimidating. They've just turned around and said, "Come with us." So, okay, fine. We're a bit hungover at this stage. We don't really care. We're now following the police officers. But we're now following the police officers to the front of the queue. And all the locals, I think a couple of them, looked at us and they weren't too happy that we were being marched to the front of the queue. But it is what it is. Plenty of tickets to go around. So we've effectively been frog marched to the front of this queue. And the police officer, our Spanish is not that great at this time. And again, we're hungover. Police officer said, we don't often get tourists here or foreigners here to watch football. Please, we want to put you at the front of the queue. And he physically took us straight to this ticket booth. And this woman's looking at us in a very perplexed way. She's looking through the glass. We're looking at her. We're thinking, love, we just want some tickets. She's looking at us thinking, holy shit, there's white people here. This is very interesting. Police officer, went on his way. We said thank you very much to him. She said, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from England." She said, "Do you have your passport?" I was like, "Yes." We were advised to take our passport just in case. So we gave this woman a passport, and her eyes lit up like 4th of July. Incredible scenes. She's looking at our passports. Clearly, she's never seen such a thing before, never seen a British passport. And our passports, bless them. This woman's looked at our passports. Her face is lit up like 4th of July. She is absolutely loving this, that she gets to sell some tickets to gringos. And our passports went round the whole office. Everyone was having a good look at our passports, and everyone was smiling. I think the absolute sheer novelty for these people that there had been some English people who turned up and they wanted to go watch a game of football in their country. And our passports went around the whole office. I think actually we even got a free coffee out of it as well from memory. So we got another coffee. She was loving it. The office were loving it. Everyone was smiling. We were giving our tickets. We said thank you to the police officer. We said thank you to the woman behind the counter as well. And it was, number one, that queue jump was fantastic. Thank you to the police officer that done that. And it was just wonderful. We almost treated like royalty, just because we have to be foreigners there wanting to watch a game of football. So that was good fun. That was the second most memorable aspect of that. The game itself, it was a night game. It finished 1-1, but it's notable for three things. Number one of our mates that we met there, he had to get tickets off the black market, and we were in separate stands. So he was standing behind the goal with the ultras, but he had bought his ticket, and we were told that the police officer, the security, wouldn't let him in because they wanted a bribe to let him in. And he was fuming about this for days. He was livid that he had to pay a fine to get in. And we said to him, well, how much did the police officer ask you for? And he said, it's 10,000 guarani. Is that right? It's like, mate, that's £1.50. It's like, it's £1.50. It's not a big deal. And he was like, oh yeah. Well, mate, yeah, but it's a principle. Such a British response. Secondly, actually, just talking of price, I have to point out, this is a major final in South America. It's the equivalent of our Champions League. We've got tickets just before the game, and where there's, they love the fans over there, so there's a bit of media, but not a ridiculous amount. I just want to point out that we paid the equivalent of £5 per ticket. I just want to point that out, because we get shafted a lot in Europe with a lot of things, ticket prices being one of them. This ticket, and I appreciate this is 2014, this ticket, £5 per ticket. I don't know what was better, but £5 a ticket, I can live with that. Just wanted to point that out. Now, before the game, it's a night game. Before the teams come out, a lot of celebrations. It's great that a Paraguayan team's there, etc., etc. I've never seen so much toilet roll launched onto a field of play in my life. The banners that went across behind the goal from the ultras section, and all the toilet paper that came down were just remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. The atmosphere itself in the game was good. San Lorenzo took up about 25% of the stadium. They had all their fans chanting and singing behind one goal. The game itself, not a great game. San Lorenzo are the much better team. They take the lead in the second half. They go 1-0 up. Their fans are going crazy. Nacional aren't doing too much. 90th minute. We're in injury time. San Lorenzo have a chance, goes out for a goal kick. Goalkeeper gets the ball. He launches it up the field. A Nacional player headers the ball on, and the striker has got in behind the defender. And without thinking, he has just hit this ball. He's hit this ball cleanly. It's gone into the back of the net. I said last week, and I said for the Rangers-Celtic game, I have never, hands down, ever heard a noise like I heard that night at a game of football. Never. Out of nowhere, San Lorenzo were better. They were winning 1-0. They deserved to win. Out of nowhere, Nacional have gone route one, as we call, up the field, headed the ball on. This guy's back of the net, thumped it in the back of the net. This stadium goes absolutely wild. People are hugging each other. People are kissing each other. I've even taken my shirt off and I'm throwing it around my head, just, like every other crazy person's doing. The noise, just no words for it. Gives me goosebumps thinking about it now. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. If I ever hear a noise like that again at a game of football, then something's gone right in life, because you're never going to replicate that. And that's where the memories come from. What I take away from a lot of the stuff we're talking about with, predominantly football related, but other key things to take away from this would be that sometimes it's about being in the right place at the right time, and you can't control that. Sometimes you do get that luck. You're in the right place at the right time. Secondly, when you do find out you're in the right place at the right time, it's then about taking action. You've got to take the right action. And thirdly, enjoy the experiences when they come. You never know what exactly they're going to be. Some things, you might plan something out and it might turn out terrible. Let's go back to Costa Rica against England in the World Cup. We'd planned that quite well, but because of external factors, it didn't turn out to be great. Whereas this wasn't overly planned. We didn't set out to go and watch the Copa Libertadores final. That wasn't on the to-do list. But right place, right time. We showed flexibility to then go to Asuncion, and we were rewarded with not even a great game, but number one, that last-minute equaliser that again is a noise I've never heard before. We'll probably never hear quite again. And when we speak to people, we could turn around and say, hey, do you know what? We were at a Copa Libertadores final, and the story that comes with it, trying to obtain the tickets, being frog marched to the front of the queue to get preferential treatment to get these tickets, £5 ticket. That's the thing that makes the story, and that's what we're trying to, show and tell with these podcast episodes, especially when it comes down to, yes, quite a few of them revolve around some form of football, but there's a lot of stories that go with it, not just the game itself. So hopefully, you take some enjoyment out of this, and it was a truly wonderful experience. Sad note though, Nacional lost the game the following week 1-0, so San Lorenzo became Libertadores champions. I have to say, over the balance of two legs, they did deserve it, but it would have been nice to see Nacional win that competition. It is what it is. So if you've ever heard a noise in a football stadium or any arena like that, let us know. Contact us on the socials, please do. And as ever, head over to iTunes, please leave us a review of the podcast. It really helps get the name out there as well. We are thoroughly enjoying all of these episodes that we're doing, so thank you very, very much for that. Until next time, where we will be back in the cold, dark depths of Europe. We'll be looking at Vienna and Bratislava and re-jogging our memories from what was an incredibly cold trip next week. Until next time, hasta luego.